On Thursday, the U.S. Supreme Court heard former President Donald Trump's claims of absolute immunity from all prosecution. I kid you not. Upon questioning from the justices, Trump's lawyer Jack Sauer made the argument that a president could, perhaps even order the assassination of a political rival, or stage a military coup, or sell out national secrets, and still be immune from prosecution.
If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
I mean, that could well be considered an official act. You know, murdering your political opponent. And that's why you should get absolute immunity. Wow. So, doing a coup, killing your opponents in order to stay in power, totally fine. I mean, the remedy, of course, that he continues to argue is, well, I mean, you could get impeached. Oh, you could get impeached. Oh, of course. Well, that's the remedy to everything, right? Now, Sotomayor didn't agree. She said, quote, and by the way, this also involved fake electors. That was also another one of the hypotheticals that Trump, his lawyer argued that he couldn't be, couldn't get in trouble for. Can't be prosecuted for doing a fake elector scheme either. Sotomayor, her quote said, "I'm having a hard time thinking that creating false documents, submitting false documents, that ordering the assassination of a rival, that accepting a bribe and countless other laws that could be broken for personal gain, that anyone would say that it would be reasonable for a president or any other public official to do that." Yeah. And yet, that's exactly what the president's legal team is arguing that he should be able to do. Again, without any criminal prosecution. Now, I'm going to show you another video here. This is Elena Kagan.
Let's say this president who ordered the military to stage a coup, he's no longer president. He wasn't impeached. He couldn't be impeached. But he ordered the military to stage a coup, and you're saying that's an official act.
I think it would depend.
That's immune.
I think it would depend on the circumstances whether it was an official act. If it were an official act, again, he would have to be impeached.
Well, what does that mean, depend on the circumstances? He was the president. He is the commander-in-chief. He talks to his generals all the time, and he told the generals, I don't feel like leaving office. I want to stage a coup. Is that immune?
If it's an official act, there needs to be impeachment and conviction beforehand because the framers viewed that kind of
If
very
it's an
low
official
risk.
act, is it an official act?
If it's an official act, it's impeachment.
Is it an official act?
On the way you've described that hypothetical, it could well be. I just don't know. You'd have to, again, it's a fact-specific, context-specific determination.
That answer sounds to me as though it's like, yeah, under my test, it's an official act, but that sure sounds bad, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly sounds very bad.
Oh, I mean, it certainly sounds very bad, but we're still going to make that argument, because it helps my client. Basically it. Now, she had also asked, Kagan did, if a president would be immune if they sold the country's nuclear secrets to a rival. He responded, quote, likely not immune, before adding, if it's structured as an official act, he'd have to be impeached and convicted first. So, once again, their entire remedy is to go through a political trial. That's what that is. By the way, the same thing that they're claiming that these trials are. Political trial, it's all political. No, there's nothing more of a political trial than an impeachment, which again, the only penalty for impeachment is to be removed from office. That's it. And that is assuming that the party that the president belongs to isn't in the majority, and if they are, the votes to convict. And we saw with Trump's previous two impeachments of President Trump during his term, turned out that Republicans decided, we're not going to vote to remove him from power. No, of course not. Why would we do that? Our constituents love him. We're not going to endanger our careers. Screw that. So, look, basically, they've argued that the president can do literal crimes, political assassination, sell national security secrets, rig elections, fake electors, and the result of all that is just get off scot-free because, hey, political partisanship. That would be the result. Now that leads me to the last video here that I want to show you. And this is what Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had said.
I'm trying to understand what the disincentive is from turning the Oval Office into, the seat of criminal activity in this country. If the potential for criminal liability is taken off the table, wouldn't there be a significant risk that future presidents would be emboldened to commit crimes with abandon while they're in office?
There wouldn't be a disincentive. That's the problem. The president should not be above the law. But understand that these are the insane arguments that Trump's lawyer is making on behalf of Trump, saying that, Trump's basically any president, but actually just Trump, is the emperor, and the emperor can do anything he wants to anyone and not be held accountable. That's the argument here. Look, this case, they shouldn't even be hearing this case, all right? The Supreme Court. But why are they? Well, it's because conservatives run the court. 3 of them appointed by Donald Trump. 1 of them married to a woman who was at the Capitol during January 6th, the riots, and wanted the election overturned. All right? Why is Thomas even allowed to sit and be a part of this immunity case? He is compromised. This is just beyond the pale corruption. But to answer in detail why the Supreme Court took the case, not just because they're conservative, right? It's because it's a part of an overall tactic to delay the federal trial until after the election, when doing a trial would be too late. That's it. Look, the reason, by the way, that the justices want to delay as much as possible is, again, to help Trump win the election, but also make sure that they don't have to actually embolden future presidents with having absolute blanket immunity, because that would be insane. So what they're likely going to do, and I could be wrong about this, but they might say, well, look, he's got some immunity, right? Not blanket immunity. And what we're going to do is we're going to remand the case, right? We're going to send it back. We're going to send it back to Judge Chutkan, right? And say, look, there's some immunity that you didn't quite realize that Trump had, so you need to redo this, refile this case. You're going to have to make a decision on that, to which Donald Trump will be able to appeal first to the D.C. court and then bring it back to the Supreme Court. And the result of that is Jack Smith is not going to have enough time to bring this case before the election. And that's the whole ball game, right? The whole, Trump defense is delay until after I win the election. Look, the court does not come back until May 9th. All right? Now they say, we'll actually make a decision then. I don't think so. I doubt it. It's very likely from my point of view that they're not going to decide it then. I would be shocked if they did it before the summertime. And I think, and I would also be shocked that if they didn't vote 5-4 to remand it to D.C. Justice Roberts, during oral arguments, had asked attorney Michael Dreeben, who has represented Jack Smith, why they shouldn't remand it. Dreeben responded, there's a legal standing to not send the arguments back to the lower courts, before adding that counsel is, quote, not endorsing a regime that we think would expose former presidents to criminal prosecution in bad faith for political animus without adequate evidence. A politically driven prosecution would violate the Constitution. Now, Dreeben also made the point that there is no immunity that is in the Constitution unless this court creates it today. So understand that the court is not likely to create that kind of immunity that Trump is asking for, because that would be absolutely bonkers. That would be insane. That would, again, incentivize every president from now on, including Donald Trump, to break the law as much as they want while they're in office, because there will never be criminal prosecution. We know that that's what they're going to decide. But to remand it back to the court, to the lower courts, is to kick the can and delay this decision that they're ultimately going to, I think, vote against, right? They're going to shoot down the immunity claims. But they're doing so in a way that's going to delay this case from being brought, Jack Smith's case specifically, being brought until after the election, when it will be moot. So the name of the game is delay, 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 so that Donald Trump, at the end of the day, does not have to face any accountability